Lección número 3. En el hospital. In this lesson, we are going to learn expressions and vocabulary related to this patient needs at the hospital. La habitación. In some countries, the word bedroom or room is known as el cuarto, but you can also say la habitación. Example, la habitación del hospital, la habitación del hotel, o el cuarto de hotel, el cuarto del hospital. Vocabulary. La bata, la bandeja, la charola. In Mexico, the word for tray is known as la charola. El calmante, la chata, la cobija, la frazada. Depending on the country where the person is from, the patient may be more familiar with the word frazada rather than cobija. La luz, plural, las luces. Notice the change from plural luz ending in z and becoming in plural esi. El jarabe para la tos. When you say jarabe, the person immediately knows that it's any type of syrup, but you might want to emphasize that it's for the cough. Let's review more words. La mesa, la medicina o el medicamento. Some patients may use the word medicamento more often than the word medicina. And even in some countries, the word might be la droga. La prescripción, la receta, and la fórmula is the same word for prescription. Many patients, according to the region where they come from, may be more familiar with one of these words. Any of the three will work well. La sábana, la silla, la ventana, la visita. Let's learn vocabulary related to dosage. La dosis. Depending on the dosage that you are going to administrate, here is some important vocabulary words. Una botella, una cucharada, una cucharadita, unas gotas, un gramo, un miligramo, una onza, una pastilla o media pastilla. Notice the use of media here is half and must match in gender with the word. Media pastilla. Una tableta. Una cápsula. If you want to administrate a specific dosage at certain time, you will say cada. For example, every 2 hours, cada 2 horas. Every 24 hours, cada 24 horas, and so on. Let's talk about some general questions. For the following questions that you see on the screen, we are going to use the verb desear, but you can also use the verb querer. The verb desear is more common when talking with someone you don't know. Why? Because the verb querer might sound a little bit too aggressive when asking someone if they want or need something. In this case, it's mostly translated as if you wish, rather than what do you want. Let's review some important questions. ¿Desea ver al doctor? ¿Desea ir al baño? ¿Desea comer? ¿Desea beber algo? ¿Desea tomar un baño? ¿Desea dormir? ¿Desea descansar? You can substitute these questions with the verb desear with the verb querer. However, please always note that the verb after that will be in the form of the infinitive. Let's review some of the basic temporary conditions. These conditions must use the verb tener rather than in English we use the verb to be. For example, in Spanish we say I am tired, but in English we'll be using a different verb. Let's learn some of those expressions. Let's begin with the pain. ¿Tiene dolor? ¿Dónde? ¿Tiene sed? Notice the use of tiene rather than es or está. ¿Tiene hambre? ¿Tiene calor? ¿Tiene frío? Let's review the imperative form in Spanish. To talk to a patient and you would like to give the person a command, you have various options. Two of the options that you can have is, let's take the verb the verb that you are going to use for the command in the third person present tense. For example, let's explore the verb tomar, to take. You say in present tense, yo tomo, tú tomas, él toma. So let's borrow the verb tomar in the third form of the present tense, and we are going to use it as a form of a command. Toma la medicina means take your medication. Please note that in this case the command is the informal form. Another way to create an imperative form is using favor de, please. So we use this form, favor plus the preposition de and the infinitive. This is not very common. However, it's a very easy way to tell someone, please do so. Let's take a look at an example. Favor de tomar la medicina. Notice in the first example, toma la medicina is a direct imperative command. In the second one is an indirect way of saying a command. Let's review some of the most common commands that you will be using when assisting a patient in the hospital. Abra la boca. Acuéstese. Descanse. Estire. Exhale. Llámeme. Levante. Levántese. Notice the difference between one verb and the other. The verb to get up need to use the reflexive pronoun se because it refers to a reflexive action. The agent of the action is the same recipient of the action, whereas in the verb levantar is just simply to lift or raise. Póngase. Respire profundo. Siéntese. In some countries, you may also use tome asiento. Finally, voltéese or dese la vuelta. Notice that all the commands you see on the screen are in the form of usted, which is also very common. If you have not learned yet how to form usted commands, it's very simple to use the third person present tense. But you have to remember that when creating this type of commands, the ending of the letter that ends this verb will be the opposite of the main ending of the verb. For example, the first one, abra la boca, comes from the verb abrir la boca. We substitute the ir ending with an a. Whereas in other verbs, like for example, descansar, we say descanse. We drop the R of descansar and we substitute it with an E, the opposite letter, descanse. Let's go over the summary of what today's lesson has been. When you are assisting a patient at the hospital, you may want to use direct commands using the present tense. Abre la boca. If you do not want to use this informal command, you may want to use formal command or even usted command. In that case, you will say abra la boca. Another form that you can do is simply asking questions using the verb desear in the usted form. Some patients prefer to be treated in the usted formal way. That's why you will say desea, necesita. If you want to be more casual and informal with your patient, you will use the to form of the verb. Deseas, necesitas. I hope with this vocabulary and expressions, you will be able now to communicate with your patients once they are in the hospital. Thank you.